Very good afternoon to all. It's my pleasure to speak with you today on some of the work which we have been doing on hydrogen production. I would like to thank Professor Anjana Pandey for giving me this opportunity. Through this presentation, I would like to share various optimization studies and upscaling aspects which we have done in Indian Institute of Chemical Technology through this presentation. The presentation I would like to start with energy and fossils initially, and then move towards linear and circular economy very briefly, stressing waste as a feedstock for potential bioeconomy. And then in order to come to hydrogen, the enabling technologies and process, particularly related to biological process and their integrations in the name of acidogenesis, microbial electrogenesis, and photosynthesis. I will briefly discuss what we have done in IICT and try to integrate various biological process in order to process intensification to maximize the resource recovery. Finally, I would close presentation with briefly explaining about biorefinery model, which we have developed in IICT with keeping hydrogen at the primary focal point. So I'm from Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, the premier research laboratory under Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. We do basic and applied research pertaining to various environmental aspects in the interface of biotechnology. Basically, we are working on various biological routes in order to recover resource from waste streams, either from gaseous or liquid streams or solid streams, by using acidogenesis, bioelectrogenesis, photosynthesis, and bioxygenesis in the format of closed loop approach to maximize the resource recovery, wherein hydrogen is one of the important product which we are working for past 15 years. So starting with energy, I would like to say here we are dependent on energy, particularly after 1950, on fossils. There we can see exponential growth in fossil usage, particularly after growth of fossils were observed, particularly with this consumption pattern, these fossils will not be available for next generation. That is, with the same consumption pattern by 2050, we will be not able to support economy, particularly for energy based on the fossil-based resources. So not only the finite nature of fossils, but they are also creating a lot of global climate issues, which is very significant. In order to address these issues throughout the globe, there is a march towards renewable energy sources. And particularly when we see into Indian spectrum, about near to 12% is from renewables at present in the energy spectrum. When we split again renewables, we'll see that most of the energy is coming from wind. There are no renewable source, followed by small hydro, biomass, and solar up to 6%. Waste to power is very little, less than 1%. But India has significant potential as per MNRE records report, near to 22.5 gigawatts, but at present we are using less than 4 gigawatts of our biomass potential. But still significantly, there is a lot of scope, as we can see. And similarly, world energy consumption is also more or less same to India, but near to accounting for about 14% of renewables. But the energy spectrum as well as renewable spectrum will change from country to country based on the resource availability as well as policy. Not only for energy, as we can see this graph, which was taken from US DOE, complex graph, which shows that all our anthropologic requirement, all activities which we are doing for our daily activity, particularly with respect to materials, the basic feedstock is again from fossils like petroleum and natural gas. So this is also very significant to consider that we are dependent on fossils, which are finite in nature, and our economy, I can say, is a linear fossil-based economy. So as everybody know that fossils will not be available for next after 2050 with the same energy pattern. And because of this, we need to search for alternative materials that are more renewable and with a low carbon entity. So here in this context of this complex graph, I would like to say the hydrogen which right now we are using is again coming from natural gas. Natural gas is the feedstock. And in this presentation, I would like to address on hydrogen, how we can replace fossil-based resource with renewable resource such as waste to produce hydrogen. Apart from that, some platform chemicals such as acetic acid. So here we would like to speak something about linear economy. At present, we are practicing mostly linear economy, which is there for almost 200 years. We can call it as cradle to grave model or extractive industrial model, wherein we take material from Mother Earth and convert it into useful product and use it and throw it as a waste. So take, make, use and dispose approach is not a sustainable approach. As we can see from European Union statistics, about one person will be using about 15 tons per year, which accounts for about 5 tons of waste. And again, these 5 tons of waste, 60% of material is going to landfill, even though it has value. So this is a very significant portion of materials which we are losing its utility because of throwing it into landfills. So this is a very significant quantity which needs to be considered. And when we look into the changes, which is very inevitable, particularly we have to change. Otherwise, the future generation with respect to materials or energy, they face a very serious consequence. So some of the figures I would like to share here. According to the 2010 report of domestic material consumption, about 40 billion tons per year will be the global domestic material consumption, accounting for 5 to 27 tons per person per year by linear economy model, which will rise to 90 to 180 billion tons per year, accounting for 18 to 17 tons per person per year by 2050. This is because of increase in population from 7.8 billions to near to 10 billions, and has a great demand on resources, particularly the population. 19% of population will be contributed by India by 2050. So if we continue to live like this and produce like this and throw waste like this, by 2050 we will need 3 times more resources. And we all know that there is a lot of stress on finite resources, and 50% of more fuel is required, and 70% of more food, fiber, as well as feed is required, apart from 50% of water. And to add to this, 70% of population will live in urban space, urban ecosystem. So that is again one of the significant problem which will not come into this context. But this shows that according to SDG goals 12, responsible consumption and production is very critical. So we have to change. Change is inevitable. We have to change from linear to circular economy, which is very critical. So at present, most of our model, economy model, is open loop models where we are taking material and throwing it as a waste, even though it has a value, and we have to close it. So likewise, when we look into the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they propose 3 of the important foundations to come up with circular economy: designing waste, keep materials into use, regenerating natural system. So the basic thing is the material which we use after its first utility can be used as a feedstock for other process. So that likewise the material utility can be increased and the wastage can be reduced, so that most of the time the material will be in usage. So there will not be requiring much of material from the feedstock, particularly fossils. So the same material can be recirculated with less wastage of materials. So waste from one process should be designed as a feedstock for other process. So moreover, when we look into the circular economy model, we also is very much interested in regenerative natural system, that is nothing but bioeconomy, wherein we try to use the material which is biogenic in nature and try to make it into products which are again renewable, such as biogas and bio-based platform chemicals. So bioeconomy is also coming up in a very big way in this domain in order to mimic with the nature's mechanism towards resource recovery. That is where in this present context of presentation, hydrogen by biological routes also signifies one of the natural route of production of biogas, which is existing in nature for quite long time. So this is where this system, particularly circular economy system, I would like to say that waste is a very important feedstock, which will be in the focal point. Particularly in Indian context, we have about 4 kinds of waste, starting from municipal solid waste, which is huge in quantity, about 150 tons per year per day is produced. The basic advantage with municipal solid waste is more than 50% is biodegradable nature, and 30 billion liters of sewage is being generated per day, which is huge in quantity and has significant amount of nutrients which can be recovered and resourced. Apart from fecal sludge of 1.12 billion tons, which is also significant quantity with significant neutral content, apart from industrial wastewater of 1,300 megawatts potential, it can generate energy. So the basic thing with respect to waste is in Indian municipal solid waste particularly, there is annual increment growth of 10%, according to one of the statistical analysis that shows that there is no dearth of material like fossils. Fossils are finite, but waste is not finite when our economy is growing as well as the population is increasing. So there is no dearth for resources, but this needs to be properly utilized. So far, in Indian context, there is only about 4% of waste energy potential being used. So why we have to take waste as a potential feedstock, particularly for biological process? Because this presentation mostly deal with biological process. So when we look into the waste characteristics, starting from domestic sewage near to 700 mg per liter of 400 mg per liter of COD, which accounts for carbon contents, to somewhere food canteen waste, it is about 5 lakhs mg of COD per liter. Huge quantity of organics are present in various kinds of wastewater. Apart from good content of nitrates and phosphates, combination of carbon and NP is important inputs for biological operation or bacterial growth, which assumes importance with respect to biological resource recovery. So when we have a wastewater from any of the source, we have to treat it. So basically, most of the people are interested in biological process because it's a sustainable nature, and wherever possible, the basic biological process will take most of the resources, either carbon or nutrients, either in domestic wastewater or industrial wastewater, if it is biodegradable. So basically, when we look into the biological process, there are two kinds. One is aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic process consume oxygen as an input and convert carbon and nutrients into new cell along with CO2 and H2O, which is a very energy intensive process. Alternatively, anaerobic process is a very versatile process, and everybody know about biomethanogenesis, which is a gobar gas kind of technology, which is existing in India for almost 100 years, and a mature technology which produce methane, a biogas, which is popularly called as biomethanization plants are available. Apart from producing methane, methane is a greenhouse gas which has more than 20 times GH greenhouse gas potential than the CO2. People at present, scientists around the globe are looking towards production of other resources by using waste, by tweaking the anaerobic process, by tweaking towards acidogenesis, operating acidogenic system. We can produce hydrogen as a terminal product, or with the input of microbial fuel cell, we can produce electricity, or by oxygenesis, we can produce bioplastics, or by kind of treating the process with solventogenesis, we can produce ethanol or butanol. Or instead of bacteria, if you use algae as a mixotrophic cultivation or heterotrophic cultivation, we can convert carbon or inorganic as well as organic carbon into biomass, which is subsequently used for many purposes apart from treating the wastewater. So this has very significant advantage. This is where the basis starts for biological valorization of waste. So when we talk about solid waste, most of the solid waste, even though they are biodegradable in nature and has a value, will go to landfills. And some of it will go to composting and some for incineration and little bit for digestion. So there is significant potential, particularly when we go for biological process, we can recover platform chemicals, biogas, as well as hydrogen, which needs to be considered significantly. By way of this, we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Also, we can increase the energy and cost recovery. So both the feedstock, either solid waste or liquid waste, which have biogenic nature, will form a very good feedstocks, particularly for biological operations that can recover resources either in the form of chemicals or biofuels. So here I would like to say anaerobic process is a very versatile process, and all the resource recovery strategies will start with anaerobic microbiome, most of the things. So when we look into this complex graph where we give wastewater in the form of glucose 6T, it will divert towards various products. We can treat the metabolic process, anaerobic process, and produce various products like lactic acid, lipids or plastics, hydrogen conventionally with methane or butanol. So it's one of the versatile platform, I would like to say, and a versatile biofactory. So taking the base of anaerobic process, we started working on hydrogen production. The basic thing is we want to produce low carbon and green hydrogen by dark fermentation process by using waste as a feedstock. So it's like why hydrogen means hydrogen is a unique and clean energy resource and it has high energy conversion. So we started with this in 2005 with the funding of Department of Biotechnology at lab scale, and subsequently By 2016, we have set up a pilot plant with funding of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and subsequently with the funding of Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, we have set up a biorefinery platform in order to maximize the resource recovery by keeping hydrogen at the starting point. So I will discuss how we have developed these. We're able to keep pilot plant for almost this project operated for almost 5 years. So hydrogen, I would like to start. You might be discussing much about these biological routes, but in order to start up the process, I would like to explain this slide. Biological hydrogen production, fuse biomass by thermochemical process, we can produce hydrogen, or basically with biological routes, particularly with anaerobic process, dark fermentation. It's a very robust process similar to biomethanogenesis, or with photobiological process. There are three different strategies like anoxygenic, oxygenic routes by light fermentation, direct photolysis, indirect photolysis can produce hydrogen. Theoretically, this produce more hydrogen, but it has its own limitations. And there is again process with enzymatic routes, which is still at the laboratory scale. And recently, microbial electrolysis system is coming up in a good way, which is very much similar to microbial fuel cell. So I would like to discuss anaerobic process. Our focus is on dark fermentation, and I will try to use photobiological process as well as microelectrolysis process in order to integrate them as part of the biorefinery in order to maximize the hydrogen production or resource recovery towards reducing the cost of hydrogen. So coming to hydrogen production, which through dark fermentation. So everybody know for methanogenesis, there are 4 kinds of steps involved when we take waste or wastewater. Initially start with hydrolysis, and then with esterogenesis, followed by esterogenesis, and finally methanogenesis, where methane will be the final product. So our basic scope in production of hydrogen is we try to terminate methanogenic process so that we'll make hydrogen as a terminal end product so that we can extract the hydrogen. The success lies when we are able to eliminate the methanogenic step and to enrich the estrogenic bacteria. So that I will explain in next slide. So when we look into the theoretical things, 1 mole of glucose, we can produce 4 moles of hydrogen with 2 moles of acetic acid. Or if it goes to butyric acid pathway, we can produce 2 moles of hydrogen along with 1 mole of butyric acid. So when we look into the wastewater terms, 1 kg of COD, when we are able to remove, we can produce about 468 liters of hydrogen. This is the theoretical lead. So we'll be getting somewhere between 50% in most of the cases. So we started with hydrogen production initially. We started with different wastewater, starting from complex chemical wastewater to simple municipal solid waste. And all the wastewater surveys showed good production of hydrogen, but varied with respect to the organic load as well as with biodegradable nature. Apart from that, we also get reasonably good amount of COD removal efficiency. So during this initial stage of operation, we found there are many challenges when we want to scale up the process towards commercial entity. So the basic thing is the existing of methanogenic bacteria, because we are working with mixed culture. We cannot always maintain the estrogenic culture because of many reasons. The coexisting and growth of methanogenic bacteria will create a lot of issues and reduce the efficiency of hydrogen productivity when we operate for a long time. This is one of the major issue. And apart from that, there are other things like VFA production along with hydrogen, which will create feedback inhibition. And again, it's a major issue which reduce the productivity of hydrogen or efficiency of the reactor, a conversion of carbon source. Apart from that, composition of wastewater, which is one of the significant issue. Its biodegradability, its organic carbon load will have a direct role to play on conversion efficiencies. And the wastewater after hydrogen production, the outlet will have significant amount of carbon source, and it needs to be treated before disposal as per the regulatory requirement. This is also again one of the issue. And apart from economics, to scale up the process, economics is the major issue. And apart from this, which is not coming into our purview, but purification, storage, transport, as well as safety are the other main issues which also need significant attention in order to translate hydrogen production to commercial scale. So initially we started working with elimination of methanogenic bacteria. So we tried to pre-treat the culture, mixed culture, in order to enrich the estrogenic bacteria so that the enhancement in hydrogen production can be achieved. So basically we try to use some of the strategies, classical microbial strategies. Everybody know that Methanogic bacteria is a non-spore forming bacteria. At extreme conditions like pH or heat or something, it will get eliminated, get killed. But Stogenic bacteria, which are firmicutes and hydrogen producing bacteria, will form into spores, so that there will be always advantage of giving selective enrichment, and then after spore formation, this bacteria can be again selectively enriched and used in the reactor as inoculum. So this strategy worked out, and we try to use various strategies. More or less all strategies has some advantage compared to the controlled mixed culture, showed higher hydrogen production. So then we also try to study the extent of maintaining estrogenesis in reactors. So we operated almost 6 reactors, and then we for almost 1 year of time, and the end of the reactor and end of the operation, that's after 360 days, we try to study the microbial diversity in comparison with the parent inoculum. So parent inoculum has all kind of diversity phylums, anaerobic phylum, but when we used different kinds of shock treatments, there is a selective enrichment of firmicutes, which was represented with respect to blue color. The firmicutes are known hydrogen producing bacteria. This has given us leads to design a pilot plant system for subsequently how to maintain and how to operate. And also we try to further enrich the hydrogen production by combination of 2 or 3 best of the pretreatment methods. And this also has given a combination of 3 systems, has given us a very good hydrogen production efficiency compared to 2 or single operation. Control is here. Combination of 3 pretreatment has given was significantly higher compared to the control. And when we look into the diversity with the 16R DNA sequence, we observed there are some upregulation in some of the key enzymes which produce hydrogen, and there is also reduction in some kind of specific bacterial groups which are non-hydrogen producers, particularly after applying and operating these pretreatment methods, which give us a very good lead. So, and some of the key parameters that we have optimized before scaling up, I would like to briefly explain. One is reactor configuration, where this is one of the significant system which can selectively keep the hydrogen producing reactor. So we try to study with biofilm and suspended growth system, wherein biofilm system has shown a very good hydrogen production efficiency relative to suspended growth operation, because of the biofilm system can form attachment on it, and attached bacterial biofilms have more resistant to extreme conditions rather than the suspended growth system. That has helped biofilm system to operate more effectively at extreme conditions, particularly with respect to pH changes and other things. So biofilm systems are more effective. And one of the important thing is organic loading rate. So we want to study how much extent the system can take organic load to produce higher hydrogen. So we started with food waste, which we can regulate the loading rates, particularly COD loading rates. So we start with 5 grams of COD and extend up to 50 grams of COD. Next, with the period with different increment, we observed that there is a consistent increment, particularly up to 50 grams of COD per liter, but subsequently increasing to 66 grams of COD per liter. There is a drastic decrement in hydrogen production. That is because of pH change, which went up to less than 4. That has created problem, and there is a significant reduction. So the buffering is playing major role, and why we are able to adjust the system buffer, pH 7 we have given, then consistently hydrogen production started increasing. So one of the key role is maintaining the system buffering capacity, not to maintain the hydrogen production, even the pH changes are there. So that is one of the critical area where we try to use some of the strategies in order to increment the hydrogen production by maintaining the buffering, like the CO2 sponging or feed replacement by 50% of replacement, help to maintain the hydrogen production, or by giving some kind of inorganic ions which increase the system buffering capacity so that system can operate for some more time. So these all strategies helped us to design the pilot plant. And one more important strategy, recently we have published is regarding the selective enrichment of bacterial culture during the operation of pilot plant by giving certain kind of oxygen at periodic scale, so that The methylogenic bacteria which growed during this period can be eliminated. However, the estrogenic bacteria can survive at extreme oxygen conditions. This is also one of the strategies. And we also try to study diversity for almost systems operated for more than years, 3 to 4 years. And we observed firmicutes are the dominating bacterial culture in all the systems. So firmicutes, everybody know, are the basic bacterial acidogenic systems which will function more effectively towards hydrogen production as a terminal product. So these are some of the key parameters, optimized parameters for dark fermentation. Biocatalyst, we have to enrich the biocatalyst. Feeding pH, always acidic is more feasible for extended period of hydrogen production, and low the retention time, more hydrogen production. Otherwise, if you extend the retention time, hydrogen will be subsequently converted to methane, and then there is always possibility of formation of methylogenic bacteria, enrichment of methylogenic bacteria. And batch mode operations are more reasonably good for hydrogen production, but the system has to go with continuous operation when we are going for practical scale application. And moreover, the configuration, biofilm systems are more effective. Organic loading rate 50 grams is more optimized, but still it has to move towards 100 grams per liter so that to increase the productivity. Buffering agent is always required to maximize production, and the aeration will help to regulate the bacterial culture. And the residual carbon which is coming from hydrogen is one of the important thing which needs to be recovered and reused in order to make total process economically viable as well as to maximize the resource recovery. And some of the influence of metal ions were also studied. Some has direct role to play in hydrogen production. These are some of the key parameters which we try to use to design the pilot plant. And these are the various reactors which we use to operate during scaling up operation, like small scale to semi-pilot scale at lab scale. This almost we have operated for almost 4 years. And then with the funding of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, we have designed a 10 meter cube main reactor capacity, which can take 7 meter cube of wastewater. So this is various unit operations. All the parameters which I have explained, we try to keep intact into the design in order to regulate the bacterial activity, giving the inoculum and treating the wastewater streams if we are giving solid waste, and gas separation, gas flaming, all safety things we try to keep. This is the P and I diagram. This is the full plant of hydrogen production, two-stage system. For the bottom will have the main reactor, and other stages will have different unit operations, which can take redox control, pre-treatment unit, as well as inoculation unit. All things are there, and this we try to operate almost for a period of 6 months. Mostly with municipal solid waste, and we went up to 50 grams of COD per liter and able to produce near to 50,000 liters per day with 50% of conversion hydrogen fraction, apart from 50% conversion efficiency with 60 to 70% of COD removal efficiency. This is the process performance data where one of the cycle I have presented here, like both cumulative hydrogen production, volatile fatty acids composition, as well as the cultures which we have used and how diversity has changed during the end of operation. And this was recently published in Green Chemistry. So this the operation of pilot plant, we try to keep it. We have keep it in YouTube for viewing. If anybody interested, kindly look into this thing so that you can look into how we have operated the pilot plant. So every process which right now we are looking into needs to be analyzed for its sustainability. We cannot assume that if you are using waste, it should not be environmentally sustainable. So there are some kind of tools which we can use to study the sustainability of these process. One of that is life cycle assessment as per ISO 14044, which is coming up in a big way, wherein we try to set up some goals as per the framework given and try to take the inventory data, and then we try to assess the impact and interpret and try to take some of the strategies in order to reduce the environmental impact, if anything is there. Basically, we'll give energy material as input, and output will be the product and waste streams, gases, emissions, like that. And we can get some of the hotspots, particularly related to 16 midpoint category or 4 damage category. So the data which we have generated from pilot scale operation, we tried to evaluate life cycle assessment and compared with the existing process, Then when we look into the hotspots, 4 of the damage categories: human health, ecosystem, climate change, and resources. The green one represents hydrogen production from dark fermentation process, where in human health it was low, impact was low compared to other 3 processes which is in the market. And climate change, it has negative climate change because it is using waste as a feedstock as compared to other 3 processes. And the ecosystem quality is relatively good compared to other 3 processes. And residue resources was on negative side because we are not taking any fossils for operating this system, only waste is being used. So it is also negative side. So all 4 damage categories, the sustainability was relatively good with respect to the environment for the biohydrogen production process. So, and also it compiles with 10 of the 12 green chemistry principles, so that it will not prevent waste. It has more atomic efficiency. No hazardous chemicals are used or produced. A safe chemical, safer solvents. There is no solvents used. It's an energy giving process. Net energy ratio is about 2.5. Like that, most and catalyst we are using biocatalyst. Like that, this has about 10. It supports 10 of the green chemistry principles and was subsequently selected for Green Chemistry Award. So apart from this, I would like to say that hydrogen production, when we look into the economics, still economic viability was not there because the market price of hydrogen from fossils is near to 100 rupees per kg. But with this process, we are getting near to 150 to 250 based on the feedstock availability. So then we started working on side stream valorization, and we tried to, because the wastewater or outlet from a acidogenic reactor will still contain 50% of carbon, unused carbon, or carbon in the form of other chemicals. So we have focused on side stream valorization. This will give bioprocess intensification as well as maximum resource recovery. So our basic thing, most of the wastewater that is coming from hydrogen reactor will have fatty acids in the form of acetic, butyric, and propionic acid. Most of these are platform chemicals at present, which is being produced from fossils again by using natural gas, particularly for acetic acid. So 1 kg of COD, if you are using, we will be producing about 0.62 kg of VFA in the form of acetic acid, or 0.41 kg of VFA in the form of acetic acid, apart from 4 and 2 moles of hydrogen. So this we have taken advantage and tried to increase the productivity of VFA, particularly. When we increase the productivity of fatty acids, we also can improve the productivity of hydrogen. There is win-win situation, and the total cost of process will significantly reduce. When we look into the cost, some of the fatty acids such as propionic acid has very high market value compared to hydrogen. So the total cost of hydrogen can be reduced. So that at present, we are trying to increase the productivity and also trying to produce a selective fatty acid in the form of propionic acid, which have more high market value. However, hydrogen production will be low when propionic acid is produced. So we are trying to look into different streams in order to maximize the product efficiency as well as economics also. So this again, we are also trying to increase the productivity, particularly by keeping the headspace gas from hydrogen. The headspace gas, which is a composition of CO2 and H2, will have direct impact on VFA production if acidogenic bacteria is there. If a mixture of bacteria like methanogenic is there, that will help to produce more methane and enrich the methanogenic bacteria. But we are eliminating methanogenic bacteria and keeping acidogenic bacteria. By increasing the headspace, we will be able to convert the fatty acids, more fatty acids, that means more of hydrogen. So this strategy at present we are working. So before closing acidogenesis, I would like to show this slide. There is significant focus, particularly with acidogenesis. We can produce multiple products in refinery in order to make economically viable the total process, and hydrogen production cost can also be significantly reduced. So coming to the second process, as I told, microbial electrochemical technology, which also came into popularity, particularly in the research domain, because of its advantage to use waste and convert directly into power during 2005. So we also started with microbial fuel cell. We started because that hydrogen, when we produce, again it has to be purified because it will be about 50 to 50% of hydrogen along with CO2 and other trace gases. So when we want to convert into energy, we have to give in fuel cell with 99.9% of pure hydrogen. So that has made us a little bit problematic when we are talking in a conference. Then everybody will ask how you are going to separate and how to transport like that. So This system, particularly by using the same bacteria and same wastewater, by separating a chamber with putting two electrodes, anode and cathode, with a connectivity, we can produce directly energy instead of hydrogen. So this made us created a lot of interest. The same substrate will convert protons and electrons. Apart from CO2, proton will pass through proton exchange membrane and go to cathode chamber. Electrons pass the anode through resistant, enter cathode in presence of oxygen, convert into H2O. This will create cell EMF, that is nothing but energy. So the bioelectricity or biopower. So this has created a lot of interest. When we look into 1 mole of glucose, we can convert into 24 protons and 24 electrons theoretically. 1 kg of COD, if we are able to remove 170 watts. So 170 watts, we are not able to get only 20% of conversion efficiency at present. That is because of many issues with respect to multi-dimensional approach optimization. But during these 15 years, this MFC, microbial fuel cell, we can call it as microbial electrochemical system, has become a platform technology. Particularly, it showed a wider applications which are very important with respect to bioeconomy or circular economy or biorefinery. It can take any kind of wastewater, including gases emission, such as CO2, and then convert into different products, not only power, but it can recover the chemicals. It can again produce hydrogen or methane, or it can also treat wastewater or remove the inorganic soil. So we, particularly with respect to this presentation, I am more interested in BS, bioelectrochemical system, which has quite applications with respect to increasing the productivity with respect to waste resources or microbial electrolytic cell. Both these we can call it as bioelectrofermentation also, which I will discuss in subsequent slides, particularly with respect to hydrogen production. So we started with hydrogen, but with these systems we have used, and we came up to different configurations. This is one of the cheapest configurations that can take wastewater and produce power. So here I would directly go with bioelectrochemical system for value addition. So I will tell some of the advantage which we can use this system for hydrogen production. Starting with bioelectrohydrolysis, the primary reactor is acidogenic, which will produce hydrogen. But before that, when we are giving any waste, the waste needs to be simplified or reduced to get the easy glucose or carbon source to bacteria in order to increase the productivity. So by putting little time, less than 4 hours in a MFC kind of system in a closed circuit operation, and then subsequently taken this to main reactor, acidogenic reactor for hydrogen production, we are able to produce higher hydrogen production. So pre-treatment or pre-hydrolysis help to increase the hydrogen production. So you can see this control without pre-treatment or pre-hydrolysis, but subsequently when we treat it with closed circuit operation, the hydrogen production efficiency increased significantly. So this also plays a major role as one of the add-on thing for pre-treatment waste when we are using main hydrogen reactor, which we have also used in our pilot plant, this design. So we can also use other kind of municipal waste or kind of sludge. By little pre-treatment, we can subsequently tend for acidogenic fermentation to produce hydrogen and fatty acids, or we can also give the wastewater from hydrogen reactor by little input of external potential in the form of microbial electrolysis cell near to about 0.8 volts, near to about 0.6 volts. We can produce additional hydrogen. So this is again very important area. Little input of energy, without electrolysis, we will be producing additional hydrogen that will help to gain economic viability when we integrate two of the process. The outlet of hydrogen reactor can directly convert into again for additional hydrogen. So subsequently, we focused on this more interestingly, so in order to study the metabolic pathway. So we have taken E. coli and applied a potential different. We have tried to apply potential in the microbial electrolysis cell. These are the cells, and we try to study the role of some of the key enzymes which will have direct influence on hydrogen production. And interestingly, different pathways by taking pyruvate as a major pathway. And interestingly, I will not go into deep, but interestingly, we observed the key enzyme for pyruvate metabolism was expressed and altered the metabolic expression. And at 0.8 volts positive potential, key enzymes that are responsible for hydrogen production, some of the key enzymes as overexpressed, like upregulated. So this shows that potential has direct influence on hydrogen production as well as metabolic activity. So then we have detailedly studied the cyclophotometry, other redoxy things, which I will not go into deepen. Recently, it was published in Bioelectrochemistry journal. And then we also tried to give different kinds of bacterial strains apart from E. coli, Pseudomonas, and Clostridia, and then try to study the gene copy number, how it is varying with that different potential. And this also showed an interesting thing based on the bacterial strain, the Vorex gene copy numbers were different. And also based on the electrode material which we are using, we have used stainless steel and graphite, the copy number again varied. So this is also two factors which we study. And also this has shown diversity. Diversity was very significantly different with all these experimental conditions. You can see that for like firmicutes varied. Here the firmicutes are more and slowly it is getting reduced. The experimental conditions has different role to play on enrichment of firmicutes, which again has a direct role to play on hydrogen production. So then we try to study, because it has direct influence on regulation of fermentation process. So we try to study with the name of electrofermentation with a defined electrode assembly. We try to study increment of fatty acids, which also have additional advantage of gaining additional hydrogen. So this we are able to increase 40% of fatty acid productivity apart from concomitant increase of hydrogen. This is one of the upcoming area which we are trying to look into, including as a secondary process of acidogenesis to increase the productivity, both the fatty acid productivity as well as that one. This is another model which a dual kind of electrode assembly show that we can gain different products in the same systems like hydrogen as well as fatty acids apart from biogas. This has feasibility to produce multiple products with this kind of assembly by taking advantage of electrode assembly at two places. This is published in Energy, and again a very important process which can be scaled up in order to increase the productivity. So here I would like to say CO2 which is coming from hydrogen reactor is also very important feedstock which will have direct role to play in hydrogen production. One of the important thing is it will help to increase the buffering, particularly when we are trying to give in pilot plant. The CO2 has shown us 30% of increment with respect to hydrogen production because of its capability to buffer the system. And apart from that, we also try to study its role, particularly in electrode assembly system. When methane is being produced about 55 to 60%, when we are putting in a defined electrode assembly, we are able to convert CO2 into additional methane because of availability of protons and hydrogen. This has helped a direct relevance on biogas upgradation. So these studies we are extending, and this has given us many leads. This electrofermentation, biogas upgradation, that is conversion of CO2 to additional methane and hydrogen. So we extended that. This is one of the study, again, one more study, which we have done in 2017. By giving the head gas pressure of hydrogen, we'll be able to convert the metabolic pathway, that's fatty acid conversion to ethanol production. So all these things we try to make into a gas fermentation system where we are trying to give hydrogen as a headspace gas along with CO2, which with homoacidogenic bacteria, we are trying to convert the hydrogen which is coming from anaerobic reactor to fatty acids. So these gas fermentation systems are very upcoming area where without giving renewable hydrogen, we can give hydrogen from acidogenic reactor towards converting of CO2 to fatty acids. So directly CO2 to chemical platform chemicals, or we are also trying to produce higher value compounds like succinic acid along with giving CO2 along with little amount of carbon source. By giving hydrogen as electron donor, we'll be able to produce succinic acid which have high market value and one of the important bio-based chemicals. So these leads like directly CO2, taking CO2 from atmosphere and waste carbon source and hydrogen from anaerobic reactor, the hydrogen reactor will give the additional chemical. That is one of the important domain. And this to increase the productivity of succinic acid, in order to eliminate hydrogen, particularly giving hydrogen is again expensive things. By electron donor, if you are able to give in bioelectrochemical system, we will be producing same amount of hydrogen, same amount of fatty acids without consuming the hydrogen by taking CO2 from gas. So separating CO2 and giving it to electrochemical system by external input of energy less than 0.6 volts, we apart from carbon source, that is wastewater again coming from hydrogen reactor, fatty acids, it will convert into succinic acid. So we'll get hydrogen and we are able to convert CO2 which is coming from hydrogen reactor into other value added compounds. This is a win-win situation again in a biorefinery mode. Likewise, there are different scopes, particularly using CO2 with integrating with hydrogen. We can make economically viable chemicals and which will have a lot of environmental sustainability, which I will not go into detail. But coming to photosynthetic machinery, again, it's very much important when we talk about hydrogen production or when we talk about other bio-based products. It's a natural process which is mimicking, which is happening on Mother Earth, and we are depending on photosynthetic machinery, particularly for all our activities. Without photosynthesis, man cannot survive on the Earth. It also have significant potential, particularly when we look into algae. It can take CO2 from either organic or inorganic source, and also produce different kinds of value-added chemicals, starting from cosmetics to nutraceutical protein or bioplastics or lipids. So it's a very versatile factory again, and which also produce oxygen by taking CO2. And basically on Earth, 50% of O2 evolution by utilizing CO2 is by algae, apart from 30% from plant. So, and again, when we talk about our process, hydrogen, we can produce by different modes, autotrophic, heterotrophic, mixotrophic modes by take carbon, organic and inorganic carbon, either algae or photobacteria, we can convert into different products, which I will explain in next slides with reference to hydrogen. So basically, when we are working with hydrogen production, we always have a problem with feedback inhibition. There is always reduction in hydrogen production after some amount of time, wherein volatile fatty acids production started to exceed certain levels by reducing the system redox condition. So we try to take the advantage of photobacteria, wherein when we produce initially hydrogen production with anaerobic bacteria, we'll be able to theoretically we can produce 4 moles of hydrogen or 2 moles of hydrogen with citric acid. So subsequently, photobacteria is there. It will try to take acetic acid and produce 8 moles of hydrogen, or take citric acid, produce 10 moles of hydrogen. So combination of this as a hybrid strategy, we can increase the hydrogen production. That is our basic scope of this study, wherein we have augmented photobacteria in acidogenic system. So then when we look into the results after augmentation, particularly you can see there is increment in hydrogen production. This is a non-augmented system. This is a non-augmented system. This is augmented system with photobacteria. You can see the increment in hydrogen production, particularly apart from reduction in VFA. So this VFA is trying to convert towards hydrogen production by way of this one. So trying to integrate in hybrid mode both of the process by augmenting. This has helped to increase the near to 40% of hydrogen yield, 50% of CO2 removal efficiency, and near to 60% of EFA concentration. This is a win-win situation. Still, it needs to be studied very significantly because it has positive thing and the light is not also required. So then we extended to spent wash and dairy wastewater, wherein we also get the same kind of results by augmenting with the photobacteria. The increment in hydrogen production was observed and decrement in VFA production was observed significantly apart from CO2 removal efficiency. This is one of these strategy which we can try to use during acidogenic fermentation in order to reduce the feedback inhibition. So then I would like to close my presentation by showing some of the integrations, bioprocess integrations that can take up with the help of bacteria, integrating with bacterial systems or photobacterial system or microalgae system or thermochemical systems. So these integrations to use the waste coming from hydrogen reactor or outlet from hydrogen reactor towards other value added products. So I will briefly go through these some of the integrations. The major integration is with respect to methane production, hydrogen to methane production. Recently, Honorable Minister of Road and Transport, they are trying to come up with a Gazette of India, which says that HCNG is one important thing which needs to be used in transportation fuel, wherein 4 to 9% of hydrogen with compressed natural gas will have a lot of advantage by reducing emissions or by reducing the increase usage of same engine system at present, which is in the market. So then our system, when we are using hydrogen in two-stage system, initial stage of hydrogen production, the outlet will go to methanolic process and produce methane. That will help to come up with biohydride, H2 plus CH4, or in the same system, we can produce hydrogen and CH4. So this is one of the important immediate application that can go into the market with name of HCNG. In another process, the outlet from hydrogen reactor, the fatty acid will be very good feedstock for anoxic bacteria to convert fatty acids into bioplastics in the form of polyhydroxyalkylate or polyhydroxybutyrate, which have significant application, medical application, high value application in a drug delivery system or some kind of thing. So it also can function as bioplastics, but it's one of the versatile platform which is coming up in a big way. So we can integrate. Or as I told, we can also develop biorefineries, particularly for succinic acid, which I have discussed earlier. In the same system, we can produce succinic acid by taking CO2 and carbon from the estrogenic process. Initially, the hydrogen, a little bit of hydrogen can be supplemented to succinic acid fermentation. The VFA we can take and convert into bioplastic. This platform is also one of the viable platform because succinic acid has higher market value, and also the hydrogen can get at a very lower cost apart from other bio-based products, which I will not go into deeply. The first reactor will produce hydrogen along with fatty acid. The second reactor will take fatty acids and hydrogen and CO2 from first reactor as a feedstock and then convert into succinic acid. The residual fatty acids will go to third reactor, that is reactor 4 here, and convert into by anoxic bacteria into bioplastics. So all three kinds of products in the same system without inputting of much chemicals or energy we can gain. So these kind of refineries will have a big way to play. So just to conclude here, there's integration of estrogenic with estrogenic process, estrogenic with methanogenic process, estrogenic with microbial fuel cell process has gained two forms of energy with more than 50% of CO2 removal efficiency than single reactor apart from VFA removal. So we also try to integrate three-stage strategies by estrogenic process and estrogenic process, estrogenic with photofermentation process, estrogenic with methanogenesis and photosynthesis. All these strategies, the conversion efficiencies are given and published in Applied Energy. Proper integration with a viable output of biogas can be studied based on these studies, can be applied. So likewise, I have discussed about bioprocess integrating with bacterial thing. Similarly, we can also integrate with photosystem, either with photobacteria or microalgae or a certain kind of Agella or cyanobacteria, which can produce multiple products. Likewise, the first thing we try to put wastewater coming from hydrogen reactor with photobacteria in a microbial fuel cell, wherein photobacteria can convert fatty acids and then produce energy. This is one of the application. And also we try to do it with microalgae, which also at a lower concentration converted fatty acids from hydrogen reactor apart from CO2 to biomass treatment efficiency along with biomass. So then based on the positivity of photobacterial system, we try to convert into heterotrophic mode, and then we try to study heterotrophic cultivation and try anoxic system, and we try to study the fatty acids as a major feedstock to convert into bioenergy for a project, a DBT project. This has given us a very good results and showed that electrode materials are major key factors which will have direct role to play at power generation. So then based on that, we try to integrate photobacterial system as anode, microalgae system as cathode, so that these two integrations without inputting of any energy with only sunlight, we can produce multiple products in the form of electricity, in the form of biomass, in the form of lipids, in the form of proteins. So this is a multi-product system By integrating our two photobacterial systems, by extending protons and not converting to hydrogen, this will have direct role to play to produce multiple products. This was published in Energy and Fuels recently. And we are more interested in mixotrophic mode of cultivation, which can take both CO2 from wastewater as well as from inorganic carbon from atmosphere. So this system, in a two-stage strategy, we try to produce lipids initially with growth phase and the next stress phase, converting the stored compounds into lipids, then converting into biodiesel. This we have taken into advantage, and the outlet from hydrogen reactor was sent to algal cultivation. Then after separating the lipids, then we try to take this microalgae, and then we try to convert into microalgae. And subsequently, this microalgae we try to use for de-oiled, after extracting de-oil, oiled lipids we have extracted that after pre-treatment, then again we have used for other biological process or thermochemical process. The biomass can form a good feedstock for pyrolysis, wherein we can produce bio-oil as well as biochar. So likewise, we can integrate the hydrogen production with photo-algal cultivation, and then lipid extraction. Then that biomass can be converted to, again in a closed loop approach by biological process, by pre-treatment to other product, or we can thermally convert into different value-added products. These are the strategy which we have used, starting with estrogenic effluent, two-stage strategy, growth and stress, and then optimizing. We are getting about 5 grams of near to 5 grams of biomass with 55% of lipids, and we try to do it in pilot scale, about 3,000 liter capacity oxy ponds in our biorefinery facility. So these are the other integrated process, which I will not go into deep. Or we also try to use the wastewater coming from hydrogen reactor, which have fatty acids, by diluting it to 70% with the water and supplementing to organic farming. Particularly for organic farming, it will increase the phosphate solubility. And apart from that, we have studied in bottle guard for almost 1 year in a lab, which helped to increase the phosphate solubility. By way of that, there is a good growth, particularly with higher photosynthetic efficiency. So by supplementing the farming activity, we can increase phosphate solubility, so that phosphate will be available to the roots more effectively. If supplementing more with this estrogenic effluent, then there will be fungus formation. So optimization is required here. So this is with a direct relevance. Directly we can take the solution, dilute it, and spray it onto any organic farming thing. So likewise, there are many integrations, and I would like to show 3 or 4 integrations which we try to scale down. To summarize all the integration we have studied, hydrogen reactor outlet we can send to microbial electrolysis for hydrogen production, or biomethanization system to produce methane and convert into bioethane, or to anoxic bacterial system to produce bioplastics, or to organic farming, or we can to separate the volatile fatty acids, or to microalgae cultivation by mix or heterotrophic cultivation, 2-stage we can convert into biodiesel and biomass, or in microbial fuel cell we can go for bioelectricity, or with photofermentation system, 2 forms of hydrogen. So these 2 integrations give 2 forms of energy, or 1 form of energy, or 1 form of chemicals, apart from recovering the 80 to 90% of carbon. So based on this, we have developed a biorefinery facility by keeping hydrogen production at the focal point. Like you can take any wastewater or waste, and if you are taking, we have to pre-treat it, and initially it will go to microbial fuel cell system, which will reduce the complexity of wastewater to a certain extent by producing electricity, and subsequently 20% of carbon will be converted, and this will go to estrogenic reactor, where hydrogen will be produced by converting 80% of carbon, the main reactor, and residual fraction will go to either of this process to produce either of this chemical or fuel. So 90% of carbon can be recovered, and the wastewater of tertiary treatment can be used in the process for gardening. So by way of this, we can recover 3 forms of bio-based chemicals, including hydrogen, main thing, and so that the cost of system can be reduced, cost of the final products can be reduced, and so we can make a closed loop approach, maximizing the resource recovery. This is the waste refinery platform, 10 meter cube capacity, which was constructed in ISC with the funding of Council for Scientific Industrial Research, integrating with hydrogen production process. Closed view of this, and also we try to do the life cycle assessment of these system integrating with hydrogen production. So all these products can be produced with different systems, photosynthetic, methanogenesis, acidogenesis. These are the things. And when we look into the life cycle assessment compared to the single process, the impact was very significantly low when we are going with waste biorefinery integrated process. So very significantly lower lower environmental impact was observed compared to single process. So maximizing the resource recovery will have direct role to play on resource recovery. So likewise, we are also trying to apply for Indo-UK project with sugarcane industry by taking spent waste to develop a biorefinery facility. And also we can develop a self-sustainable photosynthetic systems, particularly using algae or Agella by keeping waste and microalgae cultivation as focal point, and then de-oiling the system. The de-oiled algal cake by pretreatment when converted into feedstock for biohydrogen production or some other things. These kinds of products can be produced. We can make a self-sustainable closed loop system without inputting of any chemicals or any energy, with only waste, with sunlight, with photosynthetic advantage. We can make the self-sustainable loops that can produce different kinds of compounds. This is very important with respect to man-made mission, where they are trying to sustain their life without taking much of the materials they cannot carry. So they want to develop a self-sustained system to convert their waste to different products. This kind of models are coming up right now. This is Agella based model, which we try to produce. It's a major process of acidogenic for hydrogen production by making into other products in a closed loop approach. Likewise, there are much scopes, particularly in a closed loop approach, waste biorefinery, by keeping hydrogen at the focal point, which needs to be addressed. And coming to TRL level, at present, with respect to our work, it is at 6 level, TRL level, TRL 6 level. And hydrogen production cost is somewhere between 240 when we operated pilot plant 10 meter cube, 100 meter it's 150. Increasing the product capacity, we can reduce the hydrogen production cost. Apart from VFA also, if you take, it will still reduce the cost with a good rate of returns. So net energy ratio about 2.7. So before closing, I would like to say the major challenges are there, particularly with respect to hydrogen production process at present. And again, hydrogen economy is booming up, and green hydrogen is giving a lot of priority, and waste as a feedstock for green hydrogen production is one of the important area which needs to be considered. So here there are many challenges still which needs to be addressed in order to scale it up, but particularly with respect to biocatalyst, we cannot go with single culture. Synentropy is always important, or augmentation is important. Elimination of methanoic bacteria is a very critical thing, and regulation of acidogenic process will yield higher productivity. Genetic approach, as I cannot say it can directly have a direct role to play, but it has its own advantage. Feedstock waste is a very important feedstock, but its organic loading rate as well as its availability will have a major role to play on the success of hydrogen production. Apart from process instability with respect to feedback inhibition and substrate conversion efficiency, that also need to be addressed significantly. The outlet of hydrogen reactor, which will have still value, needs to be addressed properly by integrating a side stream valorization technique, so that overall cost can be reduced, as well as environmental positivity can also be there. Economics, again, an issue. Safety and environment sustainability needs to be addressed. Purification, storage, and transport also to be addressed for non-decentralized application. And infusing hydrogen into the existing infrastructure is very critical. Otherwise, it cannot come into the market so often. And also the policy in order to induce the biohydrogen from waste streams needs to be taken up in order to infuse this into the existing energy infrastructure. So this way we can also support the bioeconomy by supplementing these biohydrogen production by biological routes, so that the reserves can be extended for quite a long time for future generations. So by this way, these are very important things, particularly for bioeconomy to sustain. reduce the dependability on fossil-based things. So it also supports many of the sustainable development goals. So I would like to thank my students whose work I have presented here. Without them, I am not able to do this work. And also, I will greatly acknowledge the funding, initially funding from Department of Biotechnology, which has encouraged me to start hydrogen production, and subsequently Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, who funded pilot plant, and then Council for Scientific Industrializers for funding waste biorefinery facility, apart from other fundings from DST, DBT, and other things, which help to design the biorefinery basically. So I would like to acknowledge all these funding agencies. Without their support, I will not be able to do this work. And thank you very much for your kind attention. And I request you to send me questions through my mail if I will be able to answer. Because of some technical lag, I am recording this presentation and sending. I'm very happy to speak with you, and I wish you all the very best. And again, I would like to thank